Everything is nice and clean now. I renamed all of the geometry. Also, I think everything here doesn't have a history anymore, which is good. If you take a look at the outliner, there's no empty groups or any kind of weird naming on any of the geometry. So I'm ready to set up the interface for the eyes, the hands, and everything that's going to use the set driven keys. I want to make sure that these hands line up. So I want to go to top view, hold X to snap to point, just line them up on my center line. Same here. Go to top view, hold X, snap. This geometry here is kind of messy. It doesn't matter because I'm gonna move it and snap it into the joints or next to this geometry, so I don't really care where this is right now. All this geometry here should be lining up also, so I'll go to top view and again snap it to my center line. These are a couple of extra beards, a couple of extra eyes. These mouths are not in any specific order. They're from small to large pretty much. You would usually name them according to the sound they make, but in this kind of animation, since it's choppy, any letter can be any of these. It's just depending on your preference. I want to go to front view and start creating the interface with a curve. I'm going to go to curve, select my EP curve. Oh, before I continue, what I want to do is go to file and optimize scene size. This is going to get rid of all the extra things that you might not need, and like the action says, it's going to optimize your scene size. So just click OK. Okay, so I want to continue building this. I'm gonna make a rectangle around these, but I'm gonna make it with the EP curve tool rather than building a square, because if I make a square and then stretch it, which would make sense, what I'm gonna get is 4 separate curves, and I don't need that. It's not something that is all that bad, but it's just extra stuff that I don't need, so I don't want that. I want to grab the EP curve tool, snap to grid, hold X, and just make a big rectangle around these mouths here. Press enter to finish my rectangle. I'm going to move these out of the way for now. So these are going to be the mouths that I'm going to use for the interface. Oh, actually, I'm going to duplicate this. Edit. Duplicate. Gonna move these up and these down here. The reason why I move these up is because of the numbers that they have: number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't want to work with 15, 6, 13, all these other numbers. So I'll stick to working with these. These ones in the interface don't really matter. I also want to make a small arrow, which is going to be the control for the driven keys. It's going to look like this, but straight. I'll hold X and start making this arrow shape, which I'm going to use for as a control for my set driven keys. Press enter and there's my shape. I want to make it smaller. I want to make it fit. Inside of the box that I just made. Center pivot. Move it. Scale it. It's going to be roughly around the size of one of these mouths. It can be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. The shape doesn't really matter. The size doesn't really matter. So it just fits on everything here. And I want to freeze transformations and delete history on these. Freeze transformations, delete history. I want to get my channel box. And I'm ready to set the driven keys. So go to the animation submenu, go to animate, and set driven key set. This is gonna look a little bit tricky at first. It looked very tricky for me when I first learned that, because I had this window here, and also I need to use my geometry, and I also need to use the channel box. So I'm gonna use all of these three objects in order to be able to set a driven key. What this basically is, it allows you to make an object, an attribute of one object, control the attribute of a second object. And it sounds a little bit weird at first, but as I do it, it'll be easier to understand. What I want to do here is to control the visibility of these mouths up here. These are here for just display purpose, but really what is going to be working is this arrow, which I should name. This is going to be my driver, mouth, driver arrow. Mouth, driver arrow. The name doesn't really matter. And these here are already named. I also want to name this box. Mouth. Rectangle interface. It's not the best name ever, but it'll do. Okay. The first thing that I want is a driver. This arrow here is going to be the driver. And this mouth here is going to be the driven. So load driven. Now, on the mouth, the only attribute that I'm going to drive with this arrow is the visibility. So there's no point on having any of these other channels here. So what I'm going to do is just lock them. So select the mouth. So shift select, translate X, Y, C, and all of these other channels except for visibility. Hold the right mouse button and lock select. I want to reload the driven again. And I only have the visibility here. For this arrow, I might want to do the same thing. I'll do it later though. Let's continue setting the driven keys. So what I want to do here is to have the X translation of this arrow drive the visibility on mouth 1. So here, mouth 1, I want to select visibility, and on driver I want to select translate X. They both have to be highlighted. So now what I want to do is to set a keyframe here, because when this arrow is at this point, this mouth is going to be turned on, and when it moves away from it to around this area, it's going to be turned off. So here is on, so I want to key my driven key. Now when I've moved my driver here to this second mouth, I want this mouth to turn off, so I want to select that, put an off there, and I want to set my key, and now I want to test it. That's it. If I move back, the mouth turns on. If I move to the next frame, the mouth turns off. This is the basic process of setting a driven key. So it's pretty much having the attribute, the X translation, drive the visibility on the mouth 1. Let's do it one more time for the second mouth. So now I want to select this mouth. I only want to leave the visibility here, so select all of these channels, hold the right mouse button and lock selected, and now I want to load my new driven. Also, just not to make it confusing here, I'll select the arrow, and the only thing that I need here is translate C, so I can lock every other channel. Lock selected. I'm holding the right mouse button and lock selected. Okay, I'm gonna reload the driver. Load driver. So now I only have the translate C and visibility. I want to make sure I highlight both of them, and I want to set a key, and then when this arrow moves away to this spot, oh, I locked the wrong channel, so let me unlock it. I actually want to lock the C, lock select, and unlock the X, because that's the one I need. I want to reload my driver. Translate X. Okay, so when the arrow's here, I want to set a key, because the visibility on this object is on. And now when my arrow moves to the next mouth, I want to turn the visibility to off. And I put a 0 there. 0 represents off, 1 represents on. So depending on what you want, instead of typing on or off, I can just put either a 1 or a 0. So right now I want a 0, because the visibility is going to be off. And now set a key. I want to test it. So it turns on, and it goes back, this one turns on, and it's working. Now I want to do one more thing here. When this arrow moves back here, this one turns off, but then this one has to turn off. So I want to set another key when this arrow moves here. So hold X, snap it. And now when I select this, put a 0 to turn it off. Key it. Want to test it. And there it is. So when the arrow moves here, this mouth turns on. When the arrow moves here, this other mouth turns on. I'm gonna do the same thing for every single mouth here. I can do it for multiple mouths at a time, but I'm just gonna do this one more time with a single mouth for this one. So I'm gonna move my arrow here, and I'm snapping to grid all the time, just so that I don't have like a 7.58 or something like that. It's just a 7. When it moves here, it's a 3. When it moves here, it's a 0. So just to make it easy. So this is next mouth. Again, I don't need any of these channels. You don't have to lock them. I'm not gonna lock them on this one just to show that I don't have to lock them necessarily. So load driven. When the arrow's here, I want to make sure that the visibility is the attribute that I'm controlling, and I want to set a key. Key it. When the arrow moves away, I want the visibility to turn off and key it. So I want to test it. On, off, on, off. Again, when it moves back, this one has to turn off. So select that, turn it off, and key. I want to test it. And there it is. This is going to be the basic concept that I'm going to use for to control all of these mounts. Later on, I can set a limit so that this arrow doesn't get out of this square, but I'll do that later. I want to test these mounts in the actual model now. I don't need this mouth anymore because it's the same as this one. So I'll get rid of this. And I'll move my mouth number 1. Oh, actually, this one. Don't move the ones inside the interface. Move this ones on top. I can't move it because I lock the channels. I'll unlock them. Now I can move it. I'm gonna center it. I'll go into perspective view to make sure it lines up with the beard. And I want to parent it to the neck joint. Select the mouth, shift select the neck joint, and hit P to parent. Is it moving with the head? Yes. I want to select the next mouth. Move these here. Unlock my channels. Probably shouldn't have locked them in the first place, but it was just to make it a little bit less confusing when I was setting the keys. Go back to the front view. Center it. Snap it. And parent it to the neck joint. P to parent. parent the next mouth. Go to front view, move it. Snap it to the beard. I'm holding V to snap the point. I'm gonna move it back and it just snaps into place. And again, parent it to the neck joint. P. At this point, I can freeze transformations if I want, but it's not really necessary. It's just by choice. So let me get rid of this X-ray joints. And I want to test this arrow control to see if it's working. And it is. And let's continue to do the next mouth. So this is a basic process of setting the driven keys. It's just having the translate X attribute control the visibility of the different mouths that I have up here. I can control more than one attribute, but really I don't need that right now. I'm gonna load all of these mouths as the driven now. Load driven. So I want front view. I want to make sure this is snapped here. This is mouth number 4, visibility. Kit. When it moves on to the next mouth, I want to select it again, turn the visibility off. Kit. When it moves back, I want to key the visibility off again. Kit. Move on to the next one. I didn't set the key right. Visibility off. Kit. On, off, on, off. Okay, it's working. This is mouth number 5. It's the same exact thing. Oh yeah, load it as a driven. Kit. Oh. I want to make sure that I highlight it. You can see that if I don't have anything highlighted here, I'm not going to be able to key. So select the visibility and key. When it moves on to the next one, set the visibility to off. Key. When it moves back, set the visibility, oh, not on this one, but on this one, back to off. Key. Let's place these. Move it back and parent it to my neck joint. Hit P to parent. The next one. So it's the same process. Again, if you fast forward through this, my feelings are not going to be hurt. I'm just going to do the same for all of these other mods that I have here. Shift select the neck joint and parent. I want to test that. Go to my front view. And there you go. I'm gonna do the exact same thing to replace these hands, and to replace, well, this I'm gonna use later as an attribute. I'm gonna add an attribute to my rig. It's gonna be a little bit different. But as far as the eyes and all of these mouths go, well, the mouth, the eyes, maybe these beards, and the hands, it's going to be the same process. I'm gonna make a little interface, get a control, and have that control direct the attribute of whatever other object I select. Up to mouth number 6. I want to make sure that I snap it. And even though I can't see the grid, I'm snapping. You can see because it just has a different feel when it moves than if it just moves freely. So hold X, snap it, and if I show the grid, there it is, snapped into a line. That's what I want. It's the new driven, so select mouth number 6, load driven, select the visibility attribute, here, and when it moves away, it'll be turned off, here, and when it moves back, it'll be turned off, here. Move on to the next one. Load it. Select visibility, here. It moves away. The visibility turns off, here. And when it moves away to the other side, again the visibility turns off, here. Move on to the next one. Load driven, select the visibility attribute, here. When the arrow moves away, turn the visibility off, and I can tell that I keyed it because the attribute turns pink. So when it moves away, turn it off, here, go on, and when it moves away to the other side again, turn the visibility off, here. Move on to the next one. Load driven, visibility, here. When it moves away, turn it off, like here. And oh wait, what month was I in? Oh. Yeah, okay. So that one's working. Month number 9. When it moves away, like here. And when it moves away to the other side, again, key the visibility to off. Key. Move on to the next one. Load driven. Visibility. Here. And when it moves away, the visibility will be off. Here. Here. 2 more. Load driven. Visibility key. And when it moves away, visibility key. Here. Last one. And by the time you finish setting driven keys for these mounts, the process of setting them is going to be stuck in your mind, hopefully. Repetition is the best way to learn things. Move on to the next one. Snap it to grid like always so that I have a good number here. No point anything. Load driven visibility key. And when it moves away, visibility off. Here. I want to test them. And it's time to place them. Like I said at first, the first time you do this, it's gonna seem like a lot of crazy things to go through, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's a very simple concept. A driver object controlling the attribute of another object. In this particular case, visibility on the mouth geometry. I want to place them starting here. Move it back and parent it to my neck joint. Hit P to parent. Move on to the next one. Place it. And parent it to to the neck joint. I think I selected the head. Oh, there it is. Parent head to the neck joint. We'll move on to the next one. Hold V to snap to point. I'll snap it somewhere on the beard. Place it. Make sure that it's on the right place. Hit P to parent it. Next one. Hold V to snap to point. And make sure that it's a point somewhere in the beard. Hold Shift. Select the neck joint. Hit P to parent. Move it into place. Select the neck joint, hit P to parent. Move it into place. I wish I had something to say in between all of these things, and it's just pretty basic. I'm moving them, placing them, and parenting them to the neck joint. Hit P to parent. It takes my full concentration for some reason. There it is. Last one, I think. Yes. Move that. Place it. And parent it. P to parent. Let's test it. I don't need this anymore. Well, I'll need it for the hands, but I want to test my hands, or my mouth rather. Get rid of these x-ray joints so that I can see the mouth only. And there it is. We're almost done with this ray. Before I continue, I want to make an extra layer for my interface. I'll call this one the mouth interface layer. Mouth underscore interface underscore layer. And I'm going to assign all of these oh well, yeah, I'm gonna assign all of these to this layer. So select them, hold the right mouse button, add selected objects, so that now whenever I want to make them invisible, I can turn it off and only my Satan is gonna show. Another thing that I want to do is I want to group this thing and parent it somewhere. So select everything here. Let's see my outliner. So everything here. Oops. Group it. Control G. Oh, I think the computer just froze. No, please. Yes, I had better save before I continue. Well, I want to name it. This is going to be the mouth interface group. and I want to parent it here to my save temp placement, so that every time I move this thing moves. One final thing for this is setting limits on the mouth driver arrow so that it doesn't get out of the interface here. I'm gonna go to front view, back here, 0, open up the attribute editor, go to the mouth driver arrow, limit information. I was supposed to save. Let me save it. File, save scene as. This is Satan's skeleton setup. It's actually the rig setup 1. _1, just in case. Remember, always save. I'm ready to set my limits. Come on, why is it not working? There it is. Well, it's been saved. I will restart these because it's kind of lagging. And I'll continue to rig the hands and doing the extra attribute for this little outfit that I have on the side on the next video.